Hello viewers, welcome to my channel Tuned to Linux. In this video I'm going to demonstrate and discuss about storage component which we use in OpenAS or pacemaker cluster. Right, so I'm going to demonstrate and discuss about the cluster component, and in that the first one is LM, which is lock management. We need to understand what is lock management, and also we need to know what is DLM, which is distributed lock management. Right, so these two lock management is used by CLMD, which is the cluster aware logical volume, which we use in cluster system. And I'm going to discuss what is CLMD in brief in my next slide. And there is some alternate we have for CLMD, which is called LVM host tagging. Okay, so I'm going to discuss that later in my video or probably next video. And we are also having some other option called DRBD, distributed POC device, and OCF2. So I'm going to discuss about these components later in next video. So for this video I'm probably going to cover lock management and also CLVMD. Okay, so let me go back to let me go to next slide. Here in this slide it says about the DLM and CLVMD. Okay, so what is DLM? DLM is nothing but a distributed lock manager. Lock management is a common cluster infrastructure service that provides a mechanism for other cluster infrastructure components to synchronize their access to shared resources. Right, so it is used to synchronize your metadata, and it is also used locking mechanism to avoid data inconsistency. It is kind of a traffic cop or police which control access to resource in the cluster, such as access to JFS2 or OCF2 file system. So OCF2 JFS2 is a file system which can be mounted in multiple nodes. The same file system can be mounted in multiple nodes, right? So we also have something similar which is called GPFS file system, which is a IBM proprietary. So all these file system types, it use the lock management, and it use the distributed lock management for when it comes to clustering. So why we use this distributed lock management? To avoid inconsistency and to avoid corrupt your data. This is what it says here. Okay, so here we say is about CLVMD. So CLVMD uses lock from the lock manager to synchronize updates to LVM volumes and volume groups, also on shared storage. So CLVMD is a daemon or service which ensure that the LVM metadata is synchronized to all the nodes running in the cluster. So that is what the main purpose it is used for. And I have a slide for CLVMD which talk about CLVMD in brief here. Okay, so it says the cluster logical volume. So coordinate access to LVM metadata, so every node knows about the changes. So for example, if you're running 2 node of cluster, and if you made a change in one LVM and running in first node, for example node 1, if you made a change in one LVM which is cluster aware LVM, and it should ensure that the metadata and what are the changes you have done, that is populated to other node or synchronized to other node. So that is what it is. So to demonstrate that, I have a virtual environment running 2 node of cluster. There are 2 VM I'm running in virtual environment. I'm going to show you what are those for. Okay, so let me bring up this vSphere, and here there are 2 nodes which is I'm running, and let me bring up the partition here. Okay, so this is my node 1, this is node 2. Fine. So if I do a crm underscore mon minus r1, I can see I have created a resource group called data grp, and inside this there are 2 LVM primitives and 1 file system primitive running, and there is one primitive for storage which is running, right? So, and also if I check for DLM, the process is not running currently, and also CLVMD, the CLVMD process is also not running. So I need to create a primitive in order to run these services and to let the cluster know that I am going to use CLVMD services, right? So for that I need to create a primitive. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to my hawk. Okay, so this is my hawk, and in hawk I'm going to create cluster aware LVM. So I just click on cluster aware LVM. Next, it is default. You can specify the name which you want. Next, and these are the primitives which is going to create. This is the primitive for DLM, and this is the primitive for CLVMD, and this is the group, and this is the group name. And under this group there are two primitives, CLVM and DLM, and there is a clone set created for that. So I'm going to say next, and this is done. So now cluster aware LVM is created and it is applied. So I'll say done, and it is still trying to start that DLM and CLVMD, and it is started. All good. Let me go back to putty and let me check the same process whether it has started or not. So now if I check, DLM is started and also CLMD is started, right? So if I go back to node 2 here and check the same process whether it is started or not, DLM is started, CLVM, this is also running. And if I do a CRM underscore on R1, I can see this clone set has created for this group, and these are running both the nodes. So I have created the CLVMD. So now let me discuss about DLM. What is DLM? As I said in my slide, it is distributed lock management. Before that, I wanted to tell you something about lock management, which is a default and it is used by operating system. Okay, so now for example, I have a file called scorosync.conf file, and I'm a user called user A. I'm trying to edit this file, and I have just opened this file in VI editor. And now another user called user B, he also log into the same system, and he also tried to edit some file or edit some settings are contained in that file. And once he tried that, he'll see one attention error saying this file is open in so and so date and time, and by this in this node, and it is still running. This process ID is this one, right? So which is simply means that this is locked by this process. So this process is this one. So this user is open this file, that is why it is not allowing the other user to edit this file, and it is saying it is locked by the another user and the process ID and other information it has given in this file. So this is how the lock management works, and basically it is a locking type 1, and you can find that information in lvm.conf file. Here there's a file called ls-l etc lvm.conf. So in this file you would be able to see that locking information. Probably I'm not sure. locking. Sorry, so I was checking in the wrong way. Let me check like this. So what's wrong? LVM spelling is wrong, and type. So fell back to 1, which is file based locking type, and current date is set to 3, and we have other types called locking type 0, 1, and 3, right? So you just need to check what are those options for. So for now you just have to understand that for cluster purpose we use locking type 3, and for file based locking, which is default provided by operating system, is 1. So if you wanted to know more about them, then please go ahead and look for this file and their works. Okay, so this is what the LM was, and now the distributed lock management. So I have enable CLMD, which is running lock DLM and CLVM. I already showed you the process which is running. So yeah, so this is CLMD process which is running, and DLM process is running. So now to demonstrate that, I will show you one LVM. So for now, if I do LVS and if I see there are 2 LVM running in this volume group data VG, and both are open state, they are running. So now if I do VGS, here also I can see that attributes for cluster, it is not there for this volume group, and also the other way you can see VG display data VG, there is no option or nothing it says about the cluster. So what I will do, I will change the VG type from normal VG to cluster aware VG. VG change minus C for cluster, Y for yes, and I will change the type from normal VG to cluster aware VG. So if I once I did that, I can see one attribute called C, which is mean it is cluster aware volume group, and also VG display data VG. I can see there is an option called cluster equal to S. That means this VG is now cluster aware. So I have enabled it, but what is the use of it? That is the concern, and you have questions probably. So now LVS, this is a cluster aware VG, and let me try to do some modification. Let me try to remove it. Slash dev data VG data LV. So once I did that, it says, do you really wanted to remove this LV? It is usual because this is active and it is also open, so that's why it is asking whether you are going to remove the active VG or not. So it is asking for your confirmation. So it is usual, it's not an issue. So now if I go back to node 2, this is my node 2, and there is another user logged into node 2, and he wanted to do some changes in same LV, and he just ran the command LVS, and he is unable to list anything. Why? Because there is a lock, the global distributed lock has been taken, and it is not allowing to modify or do any modification in that LVS, in that LVM. So that is why when you run this LVS command, it is hung in here and it is not giving you the prompt or the information about the logical volume. So as soon as here, I will show you, let me bring this up here. Okay, so now as soon as if I say no, the other user said no or yes, whatever he wants to do. So as soon as I released it, you can see the output. So LVS is given the output here. The same way, if I wanted to do something in here, LV remove plus data VG data VG. Okay, because it is not active in here, it is running currently on node 1. Yeah, it is running on node 1. So probably what I have to do is CRM resource move resource to node 2. It is still trying to move, it seems. And it is failed. Something is not correct, that's why it is. Wow, node 1 rebooted, it seems. Okay, so let me just try to see whether it has all moved in node 2 or not. Anyway, it is moved to node 2, but node 1 is fenced and node 1 is currently in progress to start up, and it is trying to boot up. Okay, node 1 is online and everything is running on node 2 now. Great, so let me restart this session. Good. Fine, so what I was showing, CLM_mon, and I was trying to modify this LVM, the cluster aware LVM, right? So LVS LV remove / dev data VG data LV. So if I'm trying to remove this LVM from node 2, and if I try to do something in node 1 just to try to see the LV status, it is not allowing me to do that, right? It has taken the global lock. So as soon as I say no, it should release that, and I can see the LVS output here. So that is the reason we use the CLMD. So basic requirement to configure your cluster in Suse HAE, first thing what you have to do is you have to create a normal LVM and file system, and after that you have to create a group called any name you can give for group, and you need to create some primitive for DLM and CLM, and those are look like this. Let me show you the configuration file, and in this file you see there is LV here, and there's one primitive for DLM, and also you would be able to see one primitive for CLVMD. These are the primitive we have to create, and below you see a group created for this CLVM DLM, and also a clone set has been created for this one. So these are the primitives you have to create. Once you create that, you have to ensure that whether your processes are running or not. If it is not running in for some reason, what you have to do is you just have to stop your OpenAI service and restart it, and you probably would be good to start those services. Now you can see DLM is running and CLVM is also running. So in case if those are not started, you just have to see OpenAI's stop you can stop it, and you can start. So that will probably help you to start these services, right? So those are the things you need, and the final things what you require is the locking type. So locking type in lvm.conf file, so you have to ensure that this is set as 3, so you have to ensure this is running as a looking type 3. So those are the basic requirement, okay, to configure your CLVMD cluster aware logical volume, and this is the reason for which we use CLVMD. Okay, so if you have any questions and doubts, please write your doubts in YouTube comment section. I will try to get back to you. Okay, and also please subscribe my channel for more videos. I'm planning to have more videos in my channel. I'm going to cover almost all the cluster terminology which we use in Linux. I'm going to cover Red Hat pacemaker clustering. I'm going to cover also service card cluster in Linux, and also VCS. If you are interested in VCS, please let me know. I'm going to show you that one as well. Okay, so please share, please subscribe my channel for more videos. Okay, for this video I'm just going to stop, and the other topic regarding host tag and DRBD, I'm going to have a different video, and I will show you how they have to configure and what are their works. Okay, so thank you so much for watching this video. Have a good day.